Hello everybody and welcome. Today we're going to have a brief introduction to the cloud. We use all sorts of different devices every day. Tablets, phones, computers, gaming consoles, laptops. But all of these devices have one thing in common. They've all got a CPU or some sort of processor, storage where information is stored, memory for use for the CPU to do as programs, and some sort of input-output. Keyboard, monitor, touchscreen, etc. Now at the moment, these devices, we're paying a lot of money for them. We're paying money for the box, for the electricity, for the cooling, for the CPUs, for the RAM, for the storage. Doesn't matter if the device is on, working during the day, or whether or not we're fast asleep at night. We are still paying money for these resources. So wouldn't it be better if we could take all of these resources that we're spending money on and simply just move them into the cloud? Once they're in the cloud, we don't have to worry about cooling, electricity, redundancy, hardware failures, any of that sort of stuff. However, we are still in charge of the software and the operating system and antivirus and security and that sort of stuff. But now the hardware has been moved into the cloud. So now that we've moved these resources into the cloud, when we turn them on, we're going to pay for whatever we use, however much of that technology we have in use for that time. But when we turn it back off, we no longer have to pay. So we're only budgeting for, we're only paying for what we use. So now we can just spin up resources in the cloud as they're needed. If we need more resources, we just spin up more resources. And these resources that we've allocated in the cloud, if we feel that they're not enough, we can simply just add more resources. But remember, we have a small resource, we pay a small amount. We have a large cloud resource, we pay a large amount. Right now, there's quite a lot of players in the market for your cloud investments. But about 2 years ago, I drank the AWS Kool-Aid. So, I've been introduced to Microsoft Azure and I've seen the Google solution, but I've been trained and have used Amazon Web Services quite a lot. So it's what I'm familiar with. So that's what I'm going to demo for you today. Just like in your normal traditional infrastructure, you got firewalls, you got routers, you got users, you got networks, you got switches, you got servers, you got databases, you got storage. All of these aspects of your traditional on-premises networking, absolutely there's room for it in the cloud. Here's the suite of AWS offerings. Admittedly, I've only been trained on about a quarter of these, and I've used maybe 10% of them in production myself. But there's lots and lots of things that you have access to in the AWS. Amazon Web Services are a global company, spanning the globe. Obviously, they've got a lot of presence in Northern America and Europe, and here in our lovely island of Australia, they've only got a presence in Sydney. However, there is an office being constructed in Melbourne, so we're looking forward to that. Now, just a reminder, this is not a paid endorsement. In fact, I actually subscribe to AWS services, so this is not really an advertisement, but it is, but I'm not getting paid for it. Amazon Web Services have regions all over the globe, as you saw. And inside each region is multiple availability zones. Inside each availability zone, there are multiple data centers. So the redundancy and the resiliency and the availability of all the resources that you publish into AWS is very, very strong and very healthy. Now, you've seen me talk before in my previous videos about AAA, authentication, authorization, and accounting. Well, AWS have a very similar security principle. They've still got authentication, authorization, and accounting, but they call it auditing. But they also add monitoring and encryption and how the data is going to move through their cloud infrastructure. And this is all controlled by you, the customer, and AWS to make sure you've got the most secure platform possible. But enough talk, let's actually have a live demo. So I'm going to show you a live demo I recorded earlier of me creating a server in the cloud and hosting a web page. So here I am logging into the AWS console. Got my email address, my password, and I'm using multi-factor authentication, so I've got an app on my phone. So once I've logged in, there's the console. I click on EC2, which is what the virtual servers are, and I need to create a new instance. I just need to make sure I'm in the Sydney availability zone. I give the new server a name, Demo Web Server. I make sure I'm using the free tier eligible, and I'll talk about that in a minute. I set up my security options for remote access. I make sure I allow both SSH and HTTP access, and then I start the server. It takes about 20 seconds to spin up. As you can see, it's now pending, and now the server's running, but now I'm waiting for the operating system to load. And once the operating system is loaded, then we can actually connect to this AWS Linux and actually start to program it. So just click on the copy button, paste it. Bit of a typo there, I double pasted, couldn't figure out why. And now I've got SSH remote access. Now I just did an update just for fun. I didn't need to do an update if I didn't want to, but I thought, why not? Let's make sure that the operating system is fully up to date with all of the patches. Now I'm installing Apache, and now I'm fumbling around typing the wrong thing, but I need to edit the home page. I've already created the home page, and it's in my notepad on my other screen. So now I'm just going to actually edit where the home page should be of this web server, and then I'll be able to paste in the content of that web page. And I've compiled the images so it's a single page just to make things a bit faster. So there's my web page. I'm going to save that. Now let's just make sure the file's there, nice and big, got all the content. Now let's actually click on it, and there it is. The web page is good to go. Now obviously the domain suffix is just the default one that you get with AWS, but another minute and I could have logged on to one of those free domain servers and given myself a decent domain name as well. So there you have it. In less than 7 minutes, spun up a new server, installed the Apache web service, uploaded my custom web page, published it on the internet for all to see. Now AWS has a 12-month free period that you can use up to $100 per month. But you got to be careful because you need to use what they consider to be free tier eligible. So if you want a server and you put 4 CPUs and 16 gig of RAM and a terabyte worth of storage, you'll probably find that $100 budget is going to vanish very, very quickly. So make sure when you're creating your EC2 or your virtual server in the cloud that you keep it to the free tier eligible. For example, I've got a server, I've had a Windows server just with 1 CPU, 1 gig of RAM and 30 gigs worth of disk running for over a year now. And for that first year, during that 12-month period, it was free. It was because it never got over the $100. It cost me about $1 US a day. So you can have a Windows box, the AWS version of Linux, maybe an Ubuntu server. As long as you got that free tier eligible, you could run all 3 of these servers for 12 months completely free, as long as you stay underneath that $100 headroom. In fact, let's just have a quick look now at my actual cost center. So you see here now, I've logged in of the same console, but I've clicked on the Cost Explorer, and you can see this graph. This graph shows you that I spend about $1 a day, and then I need to install some servers for work, and then I ran a capture the flag competition. So that's why there's a big bump in the middle. So that did cost me about $6 on that one day. And then at the end of the competition, I spun them down and the graph went back to zero, back to almost zero again. I've got 2 servers running at the moment. And once I get rid of that second server, I'll be back to about 60 US cents a day. So what are you waiting for? Give AWS a chance. Just remember, you pay for what you use: CPU, RAM, and storage. And if you've set up, if you want to have a static address, you're going to pay for that as well. So even though you might shut down your server, that's fine. You're not paying for CPU or RAM anymore, but you still pay for the storage. And if you've allocated a static address, you're still paying for that static address. So whenever you're finished with the server, make sure you terminate the server, and that deletes the storage as well. All right, thanks very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed this video. Just for fun, my daughter has also got some sweet merchandise. If you could help me out and help her out, that'd be great. Link in the description. Thanks very much for watching. Please ensure you click that subscribe button. Click the notification bell to keep yourself notified for new videos. If you enjoyed this video, leave me a like and add a comment with what you'd like me to make for my next video. Thanks very much, and I'll see you on the next one.